Hello, welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today I have a fountain pen review for you. Now, I've already reviewed this, the Lamy Safari fountain pen, and I have already reviewed this, the Lamy 2000 fountain pen. And this kind of represents the lower end of the Lamy line, or at least the cheaper priced Lamy pens. And the 2000 kind of represents the higher end. The 2000 has a gold nib, a piston filler system. This has a steel nib, and you can use either cartridges or a converter. Now this, the pen I'm going to be reviewing today, is the Lamy Studio, which is kind of a mid-level Lamy pen. This was the very first fountain pen I ever bought that I would consider sort of decent. A more of an upgrade from just, you know, the $10, $15, $20 pens that I was using, pens that always had cartridge converter. This still uses a cartridge converter, still has a steel nib, but it's just a little more classy looking perhaps. The materials, it has a steel pen body. It's just a little classier, maybe a little bit of an upgrade over the pens that are kind of in the sub $20, sub $30 price range. You're gonna pay around $70 for this. It retails from about $70 to $80, depending on where you go, just the normal retail websites. I think on Amazon.com you can get it for around $60, perhaps, depending on the finish you get and the nib size you get. It varies, but generally you're going to pay at least $60 and maybe even up to $80 for this pen. Comes in several different finishes. This is the stainless steel brushed look. Also comes in a black that's sort of just a matte black lacquer over a steel body. And then they usually have some special edition colors every year. I think right now you can still get a blue color and then a very deep red color. I think the red is called a Rubin red. And they're usually priced the same as the standard stainless steel or black versions. And then they also have their upper level versions of the Studio. There's a palladium gray, or no, just a palladium finish, and that has a two-tone 14 karat gold nib. And then they also have a platinum gray, and that also has a two-tone 14 karat gold nib. So basically the tines of the nib are gold within palladium, I believe. I'm not exactly sure about that. And those are going to retail for around $160, so those are significantly more expensive, probably basically double the price of your standard Lamy Studio. But let's take a closer look at this pen. I'll show you the box so you can see what you get when you get it. We'll take a closer look at the details of the finish, all the various features of this pen. Then we'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I think of it. So let's take a look. So here we are, the Lamy Studio fountain pen. This is the box that you get when you get the pen. Cardboard sleeve, typical Lamy box. This is basically the same box you get with the Lamy 2000. Open her up, just a little magnetic catch there. And inside, standard Lamy information here, just showing their line of pens. Information on how to fill the various pens. Nothing too exciting. And then you just get this kind of little divided section here. You get your Lamy blue ink cartridge, and this pen also comes with a cartridge converter, which I will show you once we get to that. Here's the pen itself. I got this nice brushed stainless steel version. I really like the finish on this because even though it's stainless steel, it doesn't really show fingerprints because of this brushed look that it has. I don't know if you can get in there and really see that. And it also has, because of the stainless steel, the normal black version has a chromed section, which I thought might be a little slippery, but the stainless steel version, like this, has this kind of hard rubber section, which I think is really nice to grip. But if we just look at the parts of the pens, one of the first things you'll notice is this rather interestingly shaped clip there. Sort of shaped like a propeller or an oar or something. Some people do not like that very much. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of cool, and it's actually very functional because of this rounded area here. It slips over a shirt pocket or into a pants pocket quite easily. And we've just got a shiny chrome colored finial on that end, and on the other, very plain, kind of industrial looking. What attracted me to this pen was just sort of a nice classy, less is more aesthetic here, and very cigar shaped, similar to the Lamy 2000. in terms of overall shape. And then when you open up, you've got that hard rubber section, as I mentioned, which basically just follows the shape of the kind of torpedo cigar-shaped pen. It doesn't have an hourglass shape in there or anything. And then on the end of the section, you have this little chromed area here with a little bit of a lip on it, which keeps the cap in place. I actually put a black nib on this one, and this is an extra fine. When I purchased it, it had a steel fine, so the stainless steel colored fine nib. And then I thought a black nib would look kind of cool with the black section. And you can post very easily. It kind of rocks. So basically within the cap, you probably won't be able to see, but there's a little kind of spring section at the end of the cap that posts onto this lip on the back here. And that's the only area that it makes contact. So you can see it'll kind of rotate around. I don't mind that. Some people might mind that. I don't normally post my pens anyway, because the size of this pen, it's large enough for me to use without posting, and I usually prefer not to post my pens. Now, as I mentioned, this is the stainless steel version. It also comes in a black, kind of matte black lacquer version. And then also you can get the platinum gray or the palladium finish, and both of those are around $160 and have a two-tone 14 karat gold nib. The standard Lamy Studio in black or stainless steel, or even the special edition colors right now, you can get ruben red, and there's a dark blue color. Those are always around anywhere from $60 to $80 depending on where you get them. And as with all Lamy pens, or at least all Lamy pens except for the Lamy 2000, and then I think there's one or two other models, almost all of them have interchangeable nibs. So this black steel nib I have on here, this could go on this pen. It could also go on this Lamy Safari. This Lamy Safari has a 1.1 millimeter stub on it. I could put that on my Studio if I wanted. And any replacement nibs are from around $10 to $15. And as I mentioned, I bought this originally with a fine stainless steel nib, and then I decided I wanted this to be kind of my write anywhere pen, so I could use it on copy paper, cheap paper, paper that's really absorbent, not really high quality fountain pen paper. So I got an extra fine nib, and I usually use this with Noodler's black, which is a fairly well-behaved ink, even on kind of lower quality paper. And again, you can get the stainless steel nibs in broad, medium fine, extra fine. You can get the black nibs in broad, medium fine, extra fine. And then there's the italic, sort of italic slash stub nibs that are 1.1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter, 1.9 millimeter, and again in the same price range. So there's a lot of versatility. If you buy this pen, you can get a lot of different nibs that will fit it. If we open it up, you unscrew the section thusly, and this is just metal inside, so you couldn't turn this into an eyedropper pen because it would corrode. But then this is the cartridge that comes with the pen. This is the Z26 cartridge converter. Holds a fair amount of ink and just works like any normal piston fill converter. You rotate the piston. I'm not going to do it now because all the ink will come out, and it fits quite nicely into the end of this. This cartridge converter will also work on the Lamy Safari, which I think that's the converter I have in my Safari right now. But then there's also the Z24, I think, which is actually supposed to be with the Lamy Safari, but the Z26 will work. So if you get this pen, the Lamy Studio, and you get it with the cartridge converter, and it always comes with the cartridge converter, that converter will work in your Lamy Safari if you like. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to screw the cap onto my section here. If we want to get to some stats here, actually maybe I'll line this up with the other well-known Lamy pens and you can get an idea of how it stacks up. It's basically the exact same length, or very close to the exact same length, as the Lamy 2000 and the Lamy Safari. They're all very similar. If we post them all, which I never do, you can see that actually the Safari is the longest, and the Studio and the Lamy 2000 are quite similar in length posted. So very similar in size to these other Lamy offerings. It's probably almost, it's a little heavier probably than the Lamy 2000 because this is made of Macrolon and this is made of metal. But the actual stats, the overall length capped is 140 millimeters or 5.51 inches. Posted, it is 153 millimeters or 6.02 inches. The length of just the body without the cap is 126 millimeters or 4.96 inches. The diameter at its widest point is 12.1 millimeters or 0.48 inches. The weight overall is around 25 grams, and then the weight of just the body is about 16 grams. I'm not going to give that in ounces because it's just fractions of ounces. So it's still a fairly lightweight pen, but it does have a nice heft to it because of that steel or metal body. So how does this baby write? Well, let's find out here. This is the Lamy Studio. This is in stainless steel, and this has the extra fine nib, which actually came with the fine, but I wanted to be able to use it with, you know, cheap copy paper, and I wanted to be able to write very small. I actually have very tiny writing normally. This is way larger than I would normally write. But anyway, if we just do a little bit of, I don't know, we'll just do the quick brown fox, I guess. The old standard. Wow. That's not looking too good. Pen's doing fine. My writing looks horrible. Keeps up well. No skipping. I haven't noticed any problems with this pen at all. The feed keeps up really well, and obviously this is an extra fine nib, so it's not that difficult for the feed to keep up. And it's not horribly wet, obviously, because it's an extra fine, but it lays down a fair amount of ink. And also, this is Noodler's black, so that's not a super, super wet ink. Actually dries pretty quickly. It's why I use it for kind of my cheap copy paper kind of writing. If we actually take a look at some copy paper, this is just standard Office Depot, like as cheap can get copy paper. Use it for my printer. If we just try to do again, wow, I don't even know what I'm writing. Now, does well, doesn't feather like crazy or anything on this paper. You can take a look. No feathering at all, actually. And then in terms of show through, nothing really. You can see just a tiny bit of show through. But for writing on copy paper with a fountain pen, this combination of the extra fine nib and Noodler's black I find works quite well. So I'm quite pleased with that. And then, you know, people like to see if there's any line variation or anything. Basically, not really. You can see that's just normal thickness. I can get just a little bit out of there, but you don't want to push this too hard. Not much, really. I mean, this isn't supposed to be for that. Now, I know a question that probably a lot of you are asking right now is whether or not you can use this pen to draw pictures of three-toed sloths. And I'd like to answer that right now. The answer is yes. Lamy Studio fountain pen. I think a nice upgrade over the lower end Lamy line of fountain pens. Some people may or may not like this kind of interesting propeller shaped clip there. I actually like the aesthetics of this pen. I think it has a nice, cool industrial look to it. I like the brushed finish. I like the ergonomics of it. It has some weight to it without being too heavy, and the size is just about right. And I always enjoy those Lamy steel nibs. I think they perform very well for the price. So thank you so much for watching this review of the Lamy Studio fountain pen. I've been your good friend Bradley. You have been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.